So Darren, this year we celebrate the 20th anniversary of T20 cricket. You made your first class debut in 1989, so had been a professional for a while before T20 came about. What was your first impression of the new format, and how do you remember it being received by fellow players?
Well, I thought it was a bit of a laugh. I really did. I think, all I remember, we finished a 4-day game and we had 2 days practice before the first T20 game. And I remember we had 2 practice games against each other, first versus second team. First game we got 130 and we thought that was an unbelievable score. Second game we were 60 all out, and there was a lot of confusion. What is the best way to play it? So that's when I remember that first practice session and playing the first game. It was a lot of confusion. What was a good score? How could you win the tournament? And the team that was successful early on was Leicester. They worked out, but if you got 150, you would win most of the games, especially at home. They worked out the system really, really quickly, and they were way ahead of anyone else in that first few years, if you ask me.
So do you remember at the time thinking that cricket needed a bit of a shake-up and was looking for new ways of attracting audiences?
I think it should always be on the lookout to attract new ideas, to attract a new audience. We saw it with the 100. I think that attracted a good audience. I think if we'd have had the Blast in that period, it would have been exactly the same. We'd have had the same crowds. So, but you should always look for new ideas. I think it's grown on everyone. T20 cricket from when it started and that confusion and what is this? It's just a slogathon. To now, you look at the skill factor in T20 cricket around the world. It's just on another level. But it's also created a lot of bad habits for kids coming through. My kids have grown up around a T20 environment, so even with my boys, and you watch the way they practice compared to how we practiced when I was 13 or between 10 and 16. It was hitting through the straight back past you, it was playing the pull shot, it was playing a cut shot, a drive. But now you watch kids at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trying reverse sweeps, you know what I mean, and playing shots and they forget the basics. They don't get the basics right. So they're coming into the game, and when we talk about where we're going wrong in everything else, T20 cricket's been brilliant for cricket, but it's also created a lot of anxiety around people when they get the red ball in their hand and they try and bat against it, is how they play their shots.
So when you moved to Essex, it was a tough decision to leave. You leave Yorkshire, and on signing, Darren Gough said, "Our history is that of a side that plays it hard but also sees the funny side of things and tries to entertain." Was that approach and ethos well suited to you both as a cricketer but also as a person?
Yeah, that's why I chose Essex as well. I had plenty of other opportunities. I wanted to come here. I like the environment, I like the ground, I like the supporters, the members. They were always kind to me, and that is the reason I came here. It was a totally different atmosphere to playing at Yorkshire. The pressures were different, and I had a great time here. It's something really excited me. My son played here as well for a few years, which was great. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him in the end, but yeah, I've got fond memories of playing here. And our one-day side in that period was just out of this world. It was high quality one-day side.
So Chelmsford is renowned for having a lively atmosphere during T20s with small boundaries and the crowd right on the boundary's edge. What are your memories of playing here, and are there any particular moments that stand out?
Yeah, being hard to beat. Playing here in that period, hard to beat. The atmosphere was great, the lights on. As I said, they're quite hostile as well, the crowd actually, to the opposition, because they're so close, especially that far side near the scoreboard and down this end here where we are near the pavilion. So they were real strong areas, and people didn't like coming here. And you have to know the shape of the ground and where to hit. And we had such a good one-day side, and we got it down to a T playing here at Chelmsford.
And you mentioned how good that one-day side was. You played cricket with some Essex cult heroes in Irani, Napier, Bopara, to name a few. But who was the very best you played with?
What, at Essex?
Yeah.
At Essex, I think Andy Flower was a pretty special player. He was an awesome cricketer. Bickle was good for when he came and played for us. But yeah, I think what was so good about that team is it just had everything. It was very hard to whittle it down to one player, from from Patini and Ronnie up top, to Napier, to Foster, to myself, to Flower, to Grayson, to Middlebrook, to Phillips. You could go on and on and on. I mean, that side was just a bag of talent. And if you were building your perfect one-day side, most of those players you'd want to kind of emulate. And even now, I've gone back to Yorkshire, I looked at that period, and when I'm trying to build a one-day side now, I'm trying to think of the strengths that team had, and I'm trying to replicate it with Yorkshire, because Yorkshire has underachieved in one-day cricket for 20 years, 25 years, and that's one area we need to have a lift. And when I was looking at the overseas players for the Blast, I was trying to replicate what happened when I was here at Essex.
And you name a few Essex players you played with there. There's a few characters on that list. From a personal perspective, out of your Essex teammates, who was the most fun to play alongside?
Whew. God, there's some characters there. All different types. Middlebrook was pretty. You were pretty close. I was pretty close to James Middlebrook when I was here at Essex. He was a funny character, a Yorkshireman. I know his dad well, so that was just a natural fit. Very funny lad around the dressing room. Paul Grayson was my best man when I first got married. He was a funny character as well. I know he coached here as well. Fozzie, different character. Napier. Yeah, I mean, I said all different qualities, and I think that's what made that side so good. You had so many different personalities, even from Grant Flower and Andy, who were quite quiet, both of them, but they knew how to have fun as well. They came to the party at the right time. Ronnie was just loud. We all know what Ronnie's like. Crowd love him. He's a character, plays with a bigger heart, and he's loud and annoying at times, but people just let him get away with it because he was Ronnie Irani at Essex. He was Mr. Essex at the time.
So your final appearance for Essex in T20 cricket came at Trent Bridge on finals day in 2006. Did you feel by that point the landscape of domestic cricket had changed and T20 was considered the mainstream attraction of domestic cricket in this country?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it still is. I think counties still rely on the Blast to make the books balance. I think it's obvious. I think here in the Blast games you'll be sold out. We'll be the same at Headingley. Some big games come up. We've got Lancashire there, which is 20,000 people, and when you get that sort of atmosphere, it's obviously great as a player to be playing with the music, the floodlights on, that atmosphere, that buzz you get running out to play. County cricket will always be the ultimate. We know that, and even when you go out there now, there's decent crowding today, but realistically, you go to county cricket, there's smaller crowds. But you can see today the sun's out. We've got a large crowd in here. It's a Friday. The sun's out, and I would say this is as good a crowd as you're going to get for a county championship game.
We spoke earlier about the mentality of playing hard but also entertaining cricket. That really lends itself to T20. And with that in mind, do you almost wish it had come around sooner and that you'd had the opportunity to play more?
Well, I did play T20 cricket growing up. That's what we played. From 8 years old, I played T20 cricket. It just wasn't called T20. It was just 20 over cricket. So we all grew up playing the game, but at a professional level, I think it was a game changer. I think all the pros now, and even the supporters who, I remember them when they first said, but what is this game? It's a load of rubbish. It never will. I'm never going to go to a pyjama game ever. Look at the crowds it generates, look at the money it generates year in, year out. I played in the first international T20 for England at the Rose Bowl against Australia. What an atmosphere that was. I remember that, and we won. And that was part of the momentum we carried through to the One Days and the Ashes that year. So that T20 atmosphere and that buzz and that belief that England could beat Australia started then at the Rose Bowl in 2005. So it's played a big part in the history of cricket without a doubt.
And as we reach the 20th year of T20, are you surprised at how tactical it's become?
No, I think you'll always get people trying to beat the game, always has. I mean, like I say, the cricket brains, we talk about that great Essex side, the cricket brains in that dressing room, from myself as a bowler, from Ronnie Irani, the captain, to Andy and Grant Flower, the experience they've got, Andy Bickle when he came, Danish Canaria when he played, Dale Steyn when he came over. We had some unbelievable players. Fozzie, who's now becoming a good coach in his own right, Napier. All these guys put together so many different ideas, and you can imagine a team meeting with all those characters in a dressing room. The ideas were just, you ended up going out of there and needed a break. for an hour before you start your day again. But that's what it should be about, and you're always going to get tactics come into the game. You've seen it on the 100 as well. You're always going to get people, you see at the IPL, look at the tactics at the IPL, those timeouts and everything that goes with it, the thinking that goes into building your team. That's what I enjoy now as a coach or as a director of cricket or as an MD of cricket, is that building a team and thinking, can he perform in certain conditions, who will be the best player for us to come in this year with the players that are available to make us better. There's a lot of thinking goes into cricket, and a lot more than people actually realise from the outside. On the inside, it's non-stop ideas.
And we're seeing the format continue to develop in leagues worldwide, as you said, maybe most notably in the Big Bash with subs and additional points on offer. Do you think we could see similar rules being adopted in this country, and do you think T20 cricket as a format has further developments in it?
I'm not sure. I've always been a fan of putting up a number and saying, right, your time's up, you're too boring. If we'd have done that today in the county championship game, we'd have sent off 5 or 6 of your players today. But like I say, I'm all for it, and I enjoy the Big Bash. I do watch cricket. Like I say, I've got 2 sons. So when you live in a house and you've got 2 sons who all they've got on is cricket or football, you watch so much of it. And I like it. I like the Big Bash. I like the CPL, the atmosphere there. They've created an environment where it's more of a party tournament, and they engage the public, and that's really good. I think the Blast has become a family thing for here. The Blast is very popular and has been for years. I think all the players love playing in it, and now the 100, the ECB have took hold of a tournament and trying to attract a newer audience. By having last year, with COVID that was around, they played a blinder because it ended up with a women's game being on the same day on the same ground as the men's. So they actually jumped onto something what landed on at their feet, which created a good buzz for the women to play in front of nearly full houses, 10,000, 11,000 people, before the men's game started later, where you got obviously a few more thousand came in. But for the women to play in front of 10,000 was an amazing atmosphere.
Yeah, and you mentioned there about the increased kind of audiences for the women's game. What kind of impact do you think that short format cricket has had on women's cricket nationwide?
Well, I actually think they don't play enough of the longer form. I think what we have, again, we've created a lot of women cricketers who play all these fancy shots, but they don't play enough of the longer form. If you speak to most of the top cricketers in this country, I mean England players, they'll tell you they want to play more Test cricket, and they play 1 a year, 2 a year, and I think they see the ultimate as being Test cricket. I still believe you're judged as a cricketer and how great you are by your performances on the Test field. You become rich by playing around the world in these T20 competitions, right? And you get fame from India and Pakistan through these T20 games. But the legacy of your career is what you did in the Test arena, and that's for me the ultimate.
You mentioned earlier the economic impact of T20 on counties in England. Now you're at Yorkshire as managing director of cricket. How do you feel the Vitality Blast sits alongside other domestic competitions, and how important is it for counties to deliver T20 success?
Well, it's interesting that, isn't it? And it's an hard question. Now, if you ask me if I was doing it, I've heard lots of people saying we should get rid of 5 or 6 counties. I don't think that should happen. I love county cricket, always have done. It gave me my career. I had to play Test cricket and county cricket at the same time, which was hard work. You've seen the new breed with central contracts now. Your Cooks, I know Cooks now playing for you on a regular basis, but they hardly played for 10 years. They're all careers, and that's why they're playing longer. Your Broads and Andersons, your Cooks and all these guys are just Test cricketers now, and they should be the ultimate. But I think moving forward we have to find a way, but we still keep Championship cricket strong. If it were up to me, I would have the 50 over at the start of the season, that first May. I would play county cricket June, July. In August I would run the Blast alongside the 100. I actually would, and so people that want to come and support your county playing the Blast, it's for the next generation of cricketers who the ultimate is to get into the 100 franchise where the money is and where international recognition will come from. Let's be realistic about this. So if we all believe that county cricket is the ultimate, it should be played in that period of June and July, and then the Blast played at the same time. If they're going to keep them both, as the 100 and then finish the season with some more championship cricket. That's the way it should be in my eyes.